Okay. Peace to the family. Peace to the family. Yeah. Peace to the family, y'all. Uh, this is the book of Al-Jahiz with Geechee Gullah Jack. You know what I'm saying? I'm Geechee Gullah Jack. Y'all might know me with I'll be with Team O.S.I.R.I.S, and I've been on Amir Squad. And you might seen us around the conscious, so-called conscious community. You know what I'm saying? We part of the scientific community. And I just like to, stretch the branches out from Team O.S.I.R.I.S, and so we kind of like a Wu-Tang clan. You know what I'm saying? We all a group, but we all do our own thing. We all like individuals. We're like a web of that network. You know what I'm saying, going on. So please no subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. Like it. You know what I'm saying? Push the notification bell. You know what I'm saying? So you get notifications whenever we go live again. And you know what I'm saying? And also my Cash App is in my description as well. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it if y'all show some love, you know what I'm saying? Because I am building to make this thing a bigger bigger thing, you know what I'm saying, more visuals and stuff like that. And I will have a Patreon coming out soon. Peace, y'all. What's up, family?
Peace,
Peace and
brother.
love, brother Geechee. Peace and love, King.
Yeah, we finna get it in, man, about Egypt. I want, you know what I'm saying, on this show, Uh, mostly I'm gonna do, you know what I'm saying, I want to do a lot about West African history, of course. You know what I'm saying? Because as an African American brother, you know what I'm saying, we descend from West African people. But so I want to make my first show about who are the people of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Not to get anybody confused, because that's a lot of, that's a big controversial topic of this. You know what I'm saying? Of lately, you know what I'm saying? People not understanding even who these people are and their uniqueness, and their African uniqueness. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna share my page. Share my screen real quick.
Yeah, you got your brother Ngozi and your brother Mustafa on here, so we in to support our brother Gullah Geechee. We're gonna get it in to break down, who the ancient Egyptians was. So we here, we ready to get it in. So yeah, we in full support. We're gonna let the king do his thing and roll the dice out here.
Indeed, the book of Al-Jahiz. Let's get it.
Yeah, the book of Al-Jahiz. And I named it the book of Al-Jahiz too, because Al-Jahiz is also a father of science, you know what I'm saying, that's not recognized. People always shout out Darwin, you know what I'm saying, as the father of evolution, but Al-Jahiz was the true father of evolution. And he was you know what I'm saying, he was of African descent.
Yes, sir.
Can y'all can see my screen?
Yeah, I see it. Yep.
Okay, bet. Okay, right here we're talking about so I just want to get into the history of ancient Egypt, you know what I'm saying, before I even get into the DNA, you know what I'm saying, talk about the origins of Egypt, you know what I'm saying, and where the foundation of the culture even, you know what I'm saying, came from. You know what I'm saying? Right here say after the desertification of the Sahara, settlements became concentrated in the Nile Valley, where numerous sacred chieftains appeared. The regions with large populations pressure were in the Nile Delta region of Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt, and also along the second and third cataracts of Dongola Reach of the Nile in Nubia. And for those that don't know, you know what I'm saying, what's Upper and Lower Egypt is in the north, and Upper Egypt is in the south. Uh, Only the reason they call it Upper and Lower Egypt because how the river flows. The river flows out to the delta. The delta right here in the north that goes out to the ocean, but the river flows up to the north. So it like the river flows down, you know what I'm saying, down north. So that's why they call it Lower and Upper Egypt. And the cataracts or the waterfalls, you know what I'm saying, or the so that kind of bury certain areas of the Nile. This population pressure and growth was brought about by cultivation of Southwest Asia crops, including wheat and barley, and the raising of sheep, goats, and cattle. Population growth led to competition for farmlands and need of regulate farming. Regulation was established by the formation of bureaucracies along sacred chieftains. The first and most powerful of the sacred kingdoms was Tasseti, founded around 3500 BC. The idea of sacred kingdoms spread throughout Upper and Lower Egypt. Later, later constellation of the chieftains into broader political entities began to occur in Upper and Lower Egypt, culminating into the unification of Egypt into one political entity by Norma Menes. In 3100 BC, instead of being viewed as a sacred chief, he became a divine king. Henotheism, or worship of a single god within a polytheistic system, practiced in the sacred chieftains along Upper and Lower Egypt, became a polytheistic ancient Egyptian religion. Bureaucracy became more centralized under the pharaohs, run by viziers, governors, tax collectors, generals, artisans, and technicians. They engaged a tax collective organizing of labor for major public works and building irrigation systems, pyramids, temples, and canals. During the fourth dynasty, 2620 and 2480 BC, a long distance trade was developed with the Levant for timber, with Nubia for gold and skins, and with Punt for frankincense, and also with the Western Libyan territories. For most of the Old Kingdom, Egypt developed her fundamental systems, uh, institutions, and culture always through central bureaucracy and by divinity of the pharaoh. After after the fourth millennium BC, Egypt started to extend direct military and political control over her southern and western neighbors. By 2200 BC, the old kingdom's stability was undermined and by rivalry among governors and nomes who challenged the power of pharaohs and by invasions of Asiatic into the Nile Delta. The first intermediate period had begun in a time of political division. Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there. Uh, hold on there. What y'all think of that right there so far?
I think that
I think it's
that set it up pretty nicely, in my opinion.
Yeah, just give
yeah.
a, you know what I'm saying, as you see, like, you know what I'm saying, Egypt came out of, you know what I'm saying, came out of Tasseti. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole structure of the Sacred Kingdoms, it came out of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like how for example, like the kingdom of Aksum, you know what I'm saying? Even before Aksum, Aksum wasn't always the main kingdom on top. You know what I'm saying? It came up out of a small village kingdom, you know what I'm saying, which itself was ruled by one sacred chieftain of the time, which was Yeha, and before that it was Demont. I'm gonna get into the you know what I'm saying, the genetic history of Egyptians. I'm gonna show my screen again. And this is the DNA history of Egypt, the genetic history of Egypt, demographics, reflections, its geography, location at crossroads of several major biocultural areas: North Africa, the Sahara, the Middle East, Mediterranean, and Sub-Saharan Africa. ancient DNA. Uh, contamination from handling and intrusion from microbes create obstacles to the recovery of ancient DNA. Consequently, most DNA studies have been carried out on modern ancient populations with the intent of learning about the influences of historical migrations on the population of Egypt. A study published in 1993 was performed on ancient mummies of the 12th dynasty, which identified multiple lines of descent. In 2013, Carriot uh, conducted the first genetic study utilizing next generation sequencing to to ascertain the ancestral lineage of ancient Egyptian individuals. The researchers extracted DNA from heads of 5 Egyptian mummies that were housed in, at the institution. All the specimens were dated at between uh, 806 BC and 124 CE, a time frame corresponding with the late dynastic pharaonic periods. Researchers observed that one of the mummified individuals likely belonged to the mitochondrial DNA L2, a maternal clade that is believed to have originated in Northeast and West Africa. And it's the 2017 article that, you know what I'm saying, everybody know about. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get into that right here. Uh, a study
Yeah, I
published
think that's
in 2000.
interesting. I think we're showing that. I think that's interesting. Reading their genetics and showing that base root foundation. That's definitely on point.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And right here, you know what I'm saying, we get into, the sampling that they did on a couple of mummies that they did so far. I'm gonna read it for some of the people that don't know about this article. A study published in 2017 by an international team of scientists led by researchers from the University of uh, Tübingen and the Max Planck Institute for Science of Human History and Gena described by extraction and analysis of DNA from 151 mummified ancient Egyptian individuals whose remains were recovered from Absur el Malik in Middle Egypt, obtaining well observed uncontaminated DNA from mummies had been a problem for the field of archaeogenetics, and these samples provided the first reliable data set observed from ancient Egyptians using high uh, throughput DNA sequencing methods. The specimens were living in a period stretching from the late New Kingdom to the Roman era, 1388 BCE through 426 CE. Complete mitochondrial DNA sequences were obtained for 90 other mummies and were compared with each other and with several other ancient modern data sets. 83 of the mummies were individuals who lived in dynasties later than the 21st dynasty. The oldest mummy sample, JK 28AA7, is dated to 1388 to 1311 BC, 18th and 19th dynasty of the New Kingdom period. The scientists found that the ancient Egyptian individuals in their own dataset oppose highly similar mitochondrial profiles throughout the examined period. Modern Egyptians nearly shared their material haplogroup pattern, but also carried more sub-Saharan North and Eastern clades. A wide range of mitochondrial groups were found, including the clades of J, U, H, HVMRO R2KTLINX and W. However, analysis of the mummies' mtDNA haplogroups found that they share greater mitochondrial affinities with genetic relations of Neolithic and Bronze Age population from the Near East, Anatolia, and Eastern Mediterranean Europeans compared to modern Egyptians. Additionally, three of the ancient Egyptian mummy identified were analysis of Y DNA. Two were assigned to West Asian J, and one to haplogroup E1B1B, which is common in North Africa. The researchers cautioned that the affinities of the examined ancient Egyptian specimen may not be representative of those of all ancient Egyptians, since they were from a single archaeological site. The studies were also able to measure the mitochondrial DNA of 90 individuals, and it showed that the mitochondrial DNA composition of Egyptian mummies has shown a high level of affinities with the DNA found in Near East, Anatolia, Eastern Mediterranean, and Europe. A shared drift of mixture analysis of DNA of these ancient Egyptian mummies showed that the connection is strongest with ancient populations of Northeast and Sub-Saharan Africans, and to a lesser extent population from the South Africa and Middle East. In particular, the study finds that the ancient Egyptians are most closely related to Neolithic and Bronze Age samples in the Levant, as well as Neolithic, African, and Cushitic populations. However, the study showed that the comparative data from the contemporary population under the Roman rule in Africa did reveal a closer relationship to the ancient Egyptians from the same period. Furthermore, genetic continuity between ancient and modern Egyptians cannot be ruled out despite this sub-Saharan African influence, while continuity with modern Ethiopian is not supported. Genome-wide data could only be successfully extracted from 3 of these individuals. Of these 3, the Y chromosome haplogroup of the 2 individuals could be assigned to J and to haplogroup E1B1B, both common in North Africa. The absolute estimate of sub-Saharan African ancestry in these 3 individuals range from 6 to 15%, which is significantly lower than the level of sub-Saharan ancestry in modern Egyptians from Absur, who range from 14 to 21%. When using East African admixture populations as reference, the study's author cautioned the mummies may be unrepresentative of the ancient Egyptian population as a whole, since they were recovered from the northern part of Egypt. Y'all have any questions so far? Anything to say?
Yeah. So I want people to, to understand what you just read, which is genius. It clearly said that the portion of the DNA that they found was for one region. It wasn't for the overall population. This is postulation or high probability. So with that being said, because it's postulation and it's a higher probability, meaning if they go south, they'll find more African components. Also, with the contradiction to 2017 study of Abu-Sir, of those mummies that they tested, is that they tried to say at one phase that they had no sub-Saharan African components up there. And they said the affinities were more close to Neolithic Eurasians or Mediterranean populations from Anatolia, over all those farmers that we always talk about, and Iranian people that comes into, those portions of the Near East and North Africa in the Bronze Age. But you find L there, and you also find, autosomally speaking, within those 3 mummies, the males, 5 to 15%, which still shows a layer of African DNA in them, primarily linking towards a Omotic or Cushitic stratum, Northeast Africa, that they tried to play at one time and say it was absent in those areas. If it's absent in those areas, it shouldn't be there at all. So I just want people to understand, from the article that you read, it does show African affinities there, even if it wasn't at a high percentage. But again, this is for one region. It's not for the overall country. And it clearly said that. So to those out there, like you have a lot of people that talk shit and try to use this O.S.I.R.I.S article to debunk a sub-Saharan African presence in Egypt, and it's completely pseudo, because not the methodology or the DNA that's been sequenced, but it's pseudo when these fake ass some racist North Africans and some Eurocentrics that try to use this to try to say, look, you niggas had nothing to do with Egypt, but they're not reading the whole article, which clearly states that, again, this doesn't make up for the overall country. This is for one region.
Oh yeah.
So you can go ahead, bro. I got something to read too.
And two, they're only going by haplogroup markers. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't no telling what's all in between. You know what I'm saying? The person might have a you know what I'm saying, a foreign haplogroup marker, but you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, autosomally, you know what I'm saying, they indigenous, you know what I'm saying, overall.
Well, DNA tribes prove that, because DNA tribes, when they tested the amount of mummies, even though they only use 7 loci, which is the location of the genetics itself or the variation that they use based off hap maps, even though it's short, it still showed they had a certain signature or affinity with certain group populations of sub-Saharan Africa, not saying that that was their overall DNA composition. So basically, even amongst these little small haplogroups, which doesn't mean nothing, I'm sure if they would have went in these mummies' autosomal DNA, they would have found some signature of sub-Saharan African components, just like they found amongst the 3 that you just read, that range between 5 to 15%. 5 to 15% compared to the population that have it between something to 21% or whatever it said. At the end of the day, it's still there. So Egypt was always this place that represented a zone of confluence, because Kemet, or Egypt, was a transcontinental country. So you have people coming from different areas at different times making up the overall population. But I'm going to read something too next when you finish, King, so people can really see your point and premise of what you showed about how the shit comes from Sudan or near Upper Egypt. The blueprint of Egypt, the foundation of Egypt, the government structure of Egypt, the way they dealt with their structure comes from Upper Egypt, and I'm going to read something to you.
Oh yeah, bet, yeah. Cause we're gonna get into all that tonight. We're gonna show pictures. We're gonna get into some maps and all that. Hold on, let me show you something. Going to the.
I think that was very clear. For people be reading into it what they want to, and they don't read the whole article. That was clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I heard they talking about the autosomal copy component. You know what I'm saying? Genetic analysis have found that Berber and other Maghreb communities are defined by a shared ancestral component. This Maghrebi element speaks among Tunisian Berbers. It is related to the Coptic ancestral component. However, diverge from these and other West Eurasian affiliated components prior to the Heliocene, which is around the Heliocene is around 20,000 or 15,000 years ago. Northern Moroccans, as well as Libyans and Egyptians, carry higher proportion of European and Middle Eastern ancestry components, respectively, whereas Tunisian Berbers and Sahara are those populations with the highest autochthonous North African component. The recent genetic studies published in European Journal of Human Genetics in Nature 2019 showed that the Northern Africans are closely related to Europeans and West Asians, as well as Southwest Asians. North Africans can clearly be distinguished from West Africans and other African populations dwelling south of the Sahara. I don't agree with that fully, you know what I'm saying? I don't agree with that article fully.
So we got to be careful with that article. That
Yeah,
article is based off a specific timeline. Again, we got to
yeah,
deal with chronology. So
yeah,
in some layers of history, North Africans are genetically close to Near Easterners and people from Southern Europe. You
yeah.
have a phase of that. Go
Yeah,
ahead, King.
yeah, yeah. Because really, they are most related to these populations overall. You know, if you're looking at the whole continent, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because they right there at the crossroads of people migrating in and out. So of course, they're out of anybody else that had the most closest genetic relationship to these people.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, not undermining the indigenous, the North African indigenous component that's there. There's also a tribal component which come out of the melodic zone.
Correct. Because if you look up the Coptic component, it goes back 13,000 years, and it's a crossbreed between basal Eurasians and indigenous North Africans. The Coptic component, the Maghrebi component is the same, which is very similar to. They use other nomenclatures, but it's talking about the same thing. Or the Ethio-Somali component, which is based off the old stratum of basal Eurasian and early North African. But the trick to it is, chronology-wise, if you get an article based off ancient North Africans have a back migration genes from Southern Europe and the Levant, is actually talking about phases of North Africa that ranges between 5,400 years. Then you have to think about the Bell Beaker culture, where certain people are coming through Gibraltar and ended up in North Africa and certain isolated pockets becoming these different groups of people. Then we have populations coming from the Levant, especially in that Bronze Age period, where people are crossing through the Levant and going through the Delta, and they were highly filtering out certain portions of North Africa. But for them to wasteland the indigenous North African layer of genetic component and make it absent, that's problematic. And that's why they say it's affinity in science means similar. So it's not saying the overall DNA composition is that, it's saying more closer. Because in some layers of their genetics, you have these glacier, ancient Southern European components that did back migrated to Africa, just as well as Bronze Age Near Eastern populations. But again, there's still a distinguish between populations that exist in these certain areas today compared to then. It's just when it comes to affinity and similarity, because those layers of DNA is there. So we have to follow the chronology and timeline based off how they describe this. And if a person don't read that stuff cautiously, again, they'll be like those Eurocentrics that try to denounce Sub-Saharan African components, because even Sub-Saharan Africans, and I'm sure the brother Gullah Geechee is going to break down, also represent a hybrid situation in some layers of our DNA. All of you get what I'm saying, but that's a different story. You got to be cautious with this Eurasian as well.
Yeah, because even right here, this 2015 study of right here of Doman, it say identified and they identified an ancestral autosomal component of West Eurasian origin that is common in many modern Afro-Asiatic speaking populations in Northeast Africa. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, you know what I'm saying? On the side note, y'all know the Northeast African, you know what I'm saying? Like brother Amir was saying, uh, you know, the people of the people of the Horn, like the Somali type, you know what I'm saying? The Beja people, or the people of the Habesha people that live in near the Horn of Africa. We're gonna show pictures. We're gonna show pictures of these people a little later. But right here it say, you know what I'm saying, Eurasian origin that is common in many modern Afro-Asiatic speaking populations in Northeast Africa, known as the Coptic component. It peaks among Egyptian Copts who settled in Sudan over the past 2 centuries. Copt also formed a separate group in PCA, a close outlier to other Egyptians, Afroasiatic speaking Northeast Africans and Middle East populations. The Coptic component evolved out of the main Northeast African and Middle Eastern ancestral component that is shared by other Egyptians, also found at high frequencies among other Afroasiatic speaking populations in Northeast Africa, 70%. The scientists suggest that this point is common origin of the general population of Egypt. They also associate the Coptic component with ancient Egyptian ancestry, without the later Arabic affinity that is present among other Egyptians, especially people of the Sinai. Yeah. So even that, you know what I'm saying? Like even with those back migrants, you know what I'm saying, especially paternally, you know what I'm saying, they were related to these people anyway. You know what I'm saying, especially these people that, you know, traveled, you know what I'm saying, traveled into you know, to the Middle East from the Fahim, you know what I'm saying, created the Semitic language. Y'all still there?
Yeah, we here.
Yeah. You say, brother and girls, you say you had something to share as well? Let me show you something right here real quick too with the
Gully, you still there?
yeah. Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I was gonna show after I show this, you can share, you know, I'm gonna let you share your screen. You say you had something to share too, brother?
Yeah, I'm gonna read something for the audience, but I'm gonna let you share it first.
Okay, bet. I was gonna show where it go. The Fahim culture. Here we go. The Harifian culture. You know what I'm saying? The Harifians, you know what I'm saying, 8800 BC, the 8000 BC are viewed as migrating out of the Fahim. You know what I'm saying? The Fahim in the eastern desert of Egypt. That's on the eastern side of Egypt. On the Fahim is right here. Y'all see it right here where the little lake at for the audience. So that, you know what I'm saying, right here by the little right up under the shore right here. Say Fahim in the east right there. And it say you know what I'm saying, the Harafians 8800 BC to 8000 BC are viewed as migrating out the Fahim and the eastern desert of Egypt, including the Sinai, during the late Mesolithic to merge with the pre-pottery Neolithic B, also PPNB culture, whose tool assemblage assembled with the Harifians. This assimilation led to the Circum-Arabian nomadic pastoral complex, a group of cultures that invented nomadic pastoralism and may have been the original culture which spread Proto-Semitic languages throughout throughout Mesopotamia. So these you know what I'm saying, these people that probably spoke some type of Proto-Berber language, you know what I'm saying, spread, you know, they went into the, you know what I'm saying, to the Middle East and spread, you know what I'm saying, the Semitic type language was Afro-Asiatic language to the, you know, to the Middle East. So anyway, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the, you know, people that came out of Egypt, you know what I'm saying, already populated certain people, you know, certain parts of the Middle East and intermixed with some of the people that was already there from the original out of Africa migration 60,000 years ago, in the mix with those people already that was in the Middle East.
Absolutely. It's part of that basal Eurasian component. It came back in.
Oh yeah.
Let me know where you want me to read it, King.
You go ahead, bro.
Oh, okay. So look, I wanted to show this. This is a article by, it's called Ancient Nubian Artifacts Yield the Evidence of the Earliest Monarchy by Boyce Ransberger, right? Let me read this right quick. It says evidence of the oldest recognizable monarchy in human history preceding the rise of the earliest Egyptian kings by several generations has been discovered in artifacts from ancient Nubian Africa. Until now, it has been assumed that the time of the ancient Nubian culture, which existed in what is now northern Sudan and southern Egypt, had not advanced beyond the collection of scattered tribal clans chieftains. The existence of rule by the kings indicates the more advanced form of political organization in which many chiefdoms are united under the more powerful, wealthier rulers. The discovery expected to stimulate the new appraisal and origins of the civilization of Africa, raising question of what extent later of Egyptian culture may have been derived from advanced political structure from the Nubians. The various symbols of Nubian royalty that have been found in the fame of those later as associated in the terms with ancient Egyptians. The new findings suggest that the ancient Nubians may have reached this stage of political development as long as 3300 BC and several generations before the earliest documented Egyptian kings. The discovery is based on the study of artifacts from the ancient tombs excavated 15 years ago, an international effort to rescue the archaeological deposits before the rising water of O.S.I.R.I.S Dam in them. The artifacts include hundreds of fragments of pottery, jewelry, and stones and vegetables, and also ceremonial objects and incense burners, and initially recovered through Quistel Cemetery by Keith Sille. A professor of the University of Chicago, the cemetery contained 33 tombs that were heavily plundered in ancient times, was of the now the near modern boundary of ancient Egypt and Sudan. The significance of the artifacts which had been storage at the University of Oriental Institute was not fully appreciated until the year of Grace Williams. The research associated began with the study of them. Keith Sille had suspected that the tombs were special, perhaps even royal. Dr. Williams even interviewed him. It was obvious from the quantity of the quality painted in pottery of the jewelry that we were dealing with wealthy people. But it was also the picture on the stone of incense burner that indicated we really had the tomb of a king. On the incense burner, which was broken, had been pieced together, was the depiction of the palace and also the facade of crowned king sitting in a throne in a boat, a royal standard before the king and hovering above the king, and the falcon god Horus. Most of the images are commonly associated with the kingship in later Egyptian traditions. The portion of the incense burning bearing the body of the king is missing, but Dr. Williams said scholars agreed that the presence of the crown in the form of well-formed of the dynastic Egypt and the god of Horus it's irrefutable evidence that the complete image was also of the king, and the dynastic period of Egypt started in northern Sudan. That's all I wanted to read. Did y'all catch that?
Oh yeah, definitely caught that. Oh, yeah. What's the name of that article?
Hold on, Ken. It's called Ancient Nubian Artifacts Yield Evidence of the Earliest Monarchy. New York Times.
Wow.
Basically, the whole blueprint of ancient Egypt, of what they have on how to deal with the insult or pharaohs or government, starts in northern Sudan. Also, the oldest, they just put out last year, 2020, the oldest name, Scorpion King was in Sudan. If you could type that up, 2020, oldest name written, Scorpion in Sudan. So this whole blueprint of what creates the Egyptian culture, regardless to Eurasians being in North Africa, whether they were Bronze Age Eurasians or whether they were Basal Eurasians, they came in much earlier, but between the Bronze Age and Neolithic Eurasians in that Delta area. The bottom line is that the blueprint, the text of rulership, the whole structure of what we have as Egypt starts in northern Sudan, Upper Egypt, and before that you find predecessor route through the early Green Sahara before it even goes into the Nile Valley. We know what populations from even Punt, which is modern day Eritrea, from what they had, and also at the base root, we cannot denounce the Nilotic population that was stretching in those areas in the southern parts of Sudan for thousands and thousands of years before you even have pre-pottery. The Nubian A, Nubian B, and Nubian C complex, even before you even have Napata Playa. So what I'm trying to say is that the culture of ancient Egypt, comes from the south, and we're talking about Black Africans, regardless of people living in the northern delta who were highly Eurasian. But at the end of the day, those farmers in North Africa who were highly Eurasian, who were results of back migrators from Neolithic farmers and Iranian populations coming in, at the end of the day, they had to fall in line to the population that was already there who inhabited those zones. And overall, the blueprint of ancient Egypt comes from Black Africans. That's Black Africans. So what I'm saying is that as it goes up and now, you gotta even look at the structures. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know too that like when they think about Nubians, they always think of the stereotypical Nubian of the Dinka Nuer looking dude or the Nilo-Saharan. But not knowing, Nubia, like when we say Nubia, that's a blanket term. You know what I'm saying? They
Yes.
just mean the land. They just mean the land of
Land of
gold. You had
gold.
different
Yes.
tribes, different people there. You had different. You had different Cushitic groups, different outlayer groups. You know what I'm saying? That
And
wasn't.
different Nilotics.
Yeah, different Nilotic group. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Especially the C group was mostly Afro-Asiatic speakers. And
Yes.
then you know what I'm saying, you had the A group and the Kerma group who are
Yes.
a mixture of you know, say Afro-Asiatic people and Nilo-Saharan people that put you in the mind of the Tibu people that's in southern
Yes.
Libya, or the Nora people that's in Eritrea. You know what I'm saying? Or even
Yes.
the Maasai, similar to the Maasai, who also is an Nilotic group who are mixed with heavily Cushitic population from the east.
Yes. Now,
Or people from the Red Sea Hills.
Now, dental analysis, based off what you're saying, when they did the dental analysis of the Nubian C group, they had close affinities to Kenyan people. And when the Kenyan people that they were trying to use as a base foundation were probably something like the Maasai. We know the Maasai is a combination between Cushitic people and Analic people. So they were a combined situation that was also going on in certain areas, even before it even happened in Kenya. Cushitic people and these Nilotes, based off the dental analysis. So you always had two groups of people merging together in this northern Sudan area. And not even just that, but you had different group populations there. So Nubia is, like you say, Brother Gullah Geechee, a blanket term because everybody in Sudan wasn't a Nubian. That's just the area for the gold that they was getting before they even have Jebel Bakar, which is the zone where they had their gold camps when they were scouting out gold, raiding people in the Nuba Mountains. But then you had the Tasseti people, which is the land of the bow. So you always had different group populations there. But I wanted to say this, Gullah Geechee, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna come back on here. When you look at ancient Egypt or Mary or Kemet, you don't even hear the term Kemet until the 6th and 5th dynasty, which is land of the black soil. They never called this country Kemet, based off how we look at it now. This is land of the black soil. Before that, when Narmer unified the land, it was called Mary, which means beloved land. Some of the people of the Nile or the Ramesh also called the land Desert, which meant red land, where we get the term desert from. But when we look at ancient Egypt, we have to understand that the foundation, even with the government structure, not even that, but the way you deal with infrastructure, you see it in Upper Egypt, in Luxor, in Thebes. And if you look at the people in Luxor and the people in Northern Sudan, this gives you a base example and beautiful example of who are and what was ancient Egypt. Even a rulership. Yeah, even a rulership, when it comes to ancient Egypt, you start to see the best of it in the upper zones. See, it was brothers and sisters from the upper zones that ran that shit even when they went to the Delta and controlled it. And Gullah Geechee, I hope you get into, because I'm going to come back because I got to go somewhere with the Queen. But I hope you get into, God, even the pyramids, right? Not that ziggurat shit in Iran, because we know the oldest ziggurat was in Iran. But even before you even have the pyramids, how a lot of this stuff comes from the Green Sahara, because we understand the first step of a pyramid is called a mastaba. And mastaba in Arabic means bench. But before that, you find the base predecessor of structure of that shit with groups of people in the Sahara before they even go into multiple directions as they step in North Sudan and disperse before they become the Badarians and the Nakata. So I know you're going to get into that like an alligator king and rip that apart.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So I'm going to slide back, beloved.
Okay.
Peace.
Yeah, now, show my screen again. You still there, Polo?
Yeah, I'm still here. I think Tristan in the back room.
Oh, you need to let him in.
I believe so. I think he had sent a message a few minutes ago saying he was still back there.
I don't even see no other participants in.
He probably left then.
He probably left. It's cool. So he probably be back. It's cool. But I'm gonna share my screen, man. Going to what we just talking about. You know what I'm saying? Show a couple of things real quick. This one goes. We just talking about right here. The C group. There we go. They was from Lower Nubia. I heard it say, according to Peter Behrens and Marianne because Gerst's 2000, 2000, linguistic evidence indicate that the C group peoples speak Afro-Asiatic language of the Berber branch. This thesis rests on somewhat sketchy, numerical, insufficient uh, lexical evidence. Recent evidence suggests that the C group people spoke an Afro-Asiatic language of the Cushitic branch, with peoples to the south in Upper Nubia, possible speaking Nilo-Saharan. And that closest relation of the C group language is the Beja language, spoken in the Red Sea coast. Research cannot cannot point to the Beja specifically as the descendant language, but rather it is proposed to search in Beja lexical material for the closest common ancestor of thence delicants, a related Cushitic language existed in the Mediterranean Lower Nubia. The disappearance of C group language is somewhat of a mystery. It is possible that the successful phase of Egypt, Kushite and Mediterranean suzerainty to Upper Nubia, that this language became demographically the politically marginalized well before the arrival of the now Nubian speakers.
A Cushitic branch, huh?
Oh yeah. But the other, like the Kerma language, like the Kerma culture is a Nilo-Saharan language though, but it have like loan words from so from Afro-Asiatic language. Like these the people, you know what I'm saying? This the typical what people always think of when they think of a Nubian, but this is just one, you know what I'm saying, type. You know what I'm saying? The Nilo-Saharan group. You know what I'm saying? They intermix, you know what I'm saying? This an old group though. You know what I'm saying? They intermix with the Cushitic groups. Before then, for a long time, they was like they were aquatic hunting group. You know what I'm saying? And also like herded animals and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hunted animals. But you know what I'm saying? When the Neolithic Revolution came about, you know what I'm saying? They became part of that, and you know what I'm saying? Focus more on grain collecting and pastoralism. You know what I'm saying? What they Cushitic neighbors or the Afro-Asiatic speaking neighbors. But in the two, like even the proto-Nilotic groups, you know what I'm saying, because they said, oh, them early E's were proto or not will be considered Nilo-Saharan. You know what I'm saying? Proto-Amadic groups, even the proto Niger Kadophian groups that became the later Niger Congo speakers in the West. You know what I'm saying? Came from this ancient cluster of people. You know what I'm saying? Even though they lived long, a lot of a group of them lived long in more contemporary times. You know what I'm saying, with the later groups, you know what I'm saying, another Nilo-Saharan, some Maasai group, you know, see how they tall, they have a very distinct look, you know what I'm saying, even though the Maasai, they have, you know, they Nilo-Saharan, but they mixed with some of a lot of Cushitic groups, you know what I'm saying, as they migrated to Kenya from southern Sudan, some Egyptians, you know what I'm saying, looking just like the Beja groups, Afro-Asiatic speaking woman, East African woman. We both East Africans, but you know what I'm saying? The brother over here is a Nilo Saharian brother. show this right here. Seen this before. I showed this on the Team O.S.I.R.I.S group. This is the typical, Upper Egyptian or the northern Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? This is the common look of what, the ancient Egyptians would have looked like. You know what I'm saying? This photo I got from phenotypes.com, humanphenotypes.org, I mean. And, they show like base populations and of what would be common in certain populations that you would see. You know what I'm saying? Of course, it's not exactly people, have various different looks, of course, but this is the most common look that you'll see in, East Africa. You know what I'm saying? You have, there's multiple ones on here too. Even here it say the Ethiopoid subtype that is often the regarded as northern branch of East Ethiopia, common among the Red Sea coast. You know, so that's what we were just talking about, the people of the Red Sea coast and the Nile Valley from Egypt to Eritrea, deep into Ethiopian highlands. Shows some morphology affinities with Mediterraneans and played an important role in ancient Egypt. Often blends with the Arabids and Yemenids that arrived in prehistoric times. Common in Beja, Beni Amir, Nubians, and Hadendoa. More mixed in Amhara, Kabakish, Egyptians, which are the Korga, and other oases. Sometimes in Arabia as well. This look like a lot of people from Luxor look like this too. It's Milo Saharian right here. Saying that they was in the Nile too. Even when you get to this, Egyptoid, people of the Delta, even these people come from that Cushitic type dude, they just mixed with Eurasian groups. This is a product of that,
The diversity in that area, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Brother Chief X was even talking about how, you can't find a a black person up north, this, that, and the third. What that picture of that Coptic.
I think that's what confused a lot of people.
Here we go. This brother right here, the patriarch of Egypt, of the Coptic Church. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no kinky head African. You know
like
what I'm saying? We just like, they're a unique type of African. Of course, they mix with other, outsiders too, but they have affinities that's unique to their area.
right.
A lot of the people that have these other affinities, you get it from, from these people that, migrated. A lot of these people are closest to some of the people that migrated right out of Africa. Sister right here, you know what I'm saying? It's a North African woman, Coptic woman. East African brothers. See, you see the admixture of the Nilo-Saharan and the, East Cushitic groups, or the Afro-Asiatic speaking kids from Minya, Egypt. You know what I'm saying? You see they have the same affinities. It's a map on shirt right here. Give people kind of a view of, you know what I'm saying, what we're talking about. This map is from Christopher Ayres' book, Africa from 48,000 to 9,500 BC. So you got the Afrasians in the east right there in the Horn. You know what I'm saying? All right there in the Red Sea hills right there by the Red Sea. You know what I'm saying? And you got the Kadam people right there who are a branch, who are northern branch of Nilo-Saharan. If you ever heard of the Jabba, what's it called? The Jebel Shahaba grave site. You know what I'm saying? That was a war between these two groups, tribes. And these two group of people population. You got the Niger Godolphin groups right there where we come from. But they, you know what I'm saying, from the Niger Godolphin to the Afrasian, we come out of a proto group of these Nilo-Saharan, right? These just the ones right here are just the ones who, you know what I'm saying, who carried their genes on in more contemporary time. Saying lived along the white Nile and the Sud area, the human grassland area.
It's a good map.
You got even over here they even got the late persistent middle Stone Age peoples who, so those ghost populations that was that was already in West Africa before the Niger Godolphins people migrated there. And the brother Egyptian, so you see the Bashari man traveling caravan from Upper Egypt. What my $300 at, Chief Ed? What my $300 at? That ain't no slave right there. That's an indigenous North Africa. You know what I'm saying? That brother, that boy got that same red hair like the mummy. Picture of the patriarch of Egypt, of Alexandria, Coptic brother. What he say? What Chief X say? Can't find me a nappy head African from 3,000 years. It is a Bayesian brother right here, but you know what I'm saying? Of course, he's an Afro-Asiatic speaker, but you tell he has a lot of admixture, or you tell he have a mixture of some of the Nilo-Saharan groups. You know what I'm saying? This would be a perfect example of how some of the Kerma group would look like. You know what I'm saying? They would look like this, and also, you know what I'm saying, the typical Afro-Asiatic look as well. This, you know what I'm saying? You can still tell they have the Coptic component as well. You know what I'm saying? From the back migrations, they cousins back migrating, you know what I'm saying, mixed with other people that was already in Arabia, you know what I'm saying, too, back migrating to the continent, to the corridor of Egypt. These are the Egyptians, people. The original Egyptians. These are the people that they see on the walls. All right, hold on. Something better.
Yeah, I don't know where he got that from. Not Chief X talking about no dark skin, or I don't know where you got that from.
Look at this from UNESCO. This from UNESCO right here. UNESCO General History of Africa. Proto-historic figure of Terra Nutera, a quote-unquote Negro nobleman of analogous race who were the first inhabitants of Egypt. This dude probably would have been a mixed shitting Autosomal type of. And they even did they just did I just read some article where they did a comparison study with the Somali languages and Egyptian languages. They found a lot of similarity. Of course they would have, you know what I'm saying, related languages. But you can see that red hair that, you know what I'm saying, that's that I guess it come from the sun, you know what I'm saying, too. And also that Hina, you know what I'm saying, some people say it could be Hina. That's common. Yeah, they did say it's Hina, that hair dye that's common in
Similar bone structure.
Mm-hmm. Similar features. However, the nose is like stuff, mummy to avoid deflation. Of course, you know what I'm saying, they was mixed a little bit, but you know what I'm saying, they don't take away from the tropical indigenous component that they had as well. But even the people that they was mixed with came back with whatever, you know what I'm saying, what they you know what I'm saying, what they common ancestors. Feathers on their head, braided bobs, being an ancient style in Northeast said to be of Cushitic origin, as only the Cushitic or Cushitized ethnicity down to style. Because they mean by Cushitized is like this brother right here on the end. Some of these brothers, you could tell they all, you know what I'm saying, they Cushitic group, but they mix with Nilo-Saharan populations. Like these brothers right here. Fellas in their head, typical Nubians. That's where they get the styles from. You see this style varies from Nilo-Saharan and certain Cushitic groups. Like where they share cultures with each other. Ostrich feather. These some Somalian brothers right here actually too. So you might see that in Bija, you know what I'm saying? Some of the Maasai, you know what I'm saying, wear styles like that. Some different type of groups. See how even the Arab brother down here, you could tell, you know what I'm saying, he have some of that North African mix in him, you know what I'm saying, as well. You know what I'm saying? Because you find those E3B markers even in you know what I'm saying, the Middle East, you know what I'm saying, they migrate there. Some even markers even mutated there. Middle East and southern Europe. See, that's I've seen this picture before with you know what I'm saying, that their wig, but it also reflects like how the Beja were there. Of course, in the northern, the Delta area, they dealt with lice. You know, so a lot of them had to wear wigs and shave their head, but they still want to keep the traditional hairstyle. Brothers with the butter, the East African butter in their head. That's why you'll see the pictures of people, that's a blonde hair. No, it's butter in their head. Fatigue. Although it seems numerous women in Egypt were painted with pale colors. Different colors. So ain't no mistaking with this, man. I don't know what they be getting this stuff from. Still there, bro?
Yeah. I'm just looking at all these pictures, man.
Yeah, I don't know where they be getting this stuff from, man. It's obvious. You know what I'm saying? Who the Egyptians are and how it happened. It is what it is. I can't wait till after this show over. We got a lot in store for the book of Al-Jahid. We're gonna talk a lot about West Africa for real, for real. I got a lot of work I'm gonna talk about on prehistoric West Africa.
Yeah. I think that's needed. You know, so the people can understand. You know what's there today and what's going on today. You know, they need that foundation of you know, the past. You know.
Yeah, that's why I did this show kind of first too, just to get it out the way. You know what I'm saying? With the controversies of this subject.
Yeah, it's undeniable. I mean, with the articles, the genetic studies, even the pictures. You know, when you put it all together, I mean, it's obvious. Like you're saying, it's obvious, man. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah,
else people want.
yeah, what people want. Yeah, I'm like, we ain't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we Egyptians and none of that, but you know what I'm saying? Egyptians, you know what I'm saying? The tropical components, you know what I'm saying, is exclusive to that group. You know what I'm saying? It's unique to that particular group. You know what I'm saying? It's more than one way to, you know what I'm saying, to Africa. Or you know what I'm saying, it's more than one way, you know what I'm saying, that a human could, you know what I'm saying, or a person in a tropical area could be. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of diversity.
Right, and people should know that. I mean, that's what surprised me, that you don't know that. I mean, all you gotta
Yeah.
do is look at a Khoi person, and you wouldn't say because of their features that they not African. Like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Even like it's like with the sub-Saharan Africa, it's not like a barrier. You know what I'm saying? It never was a barrier between you know what I'm saying? It was a barrier at certain time periods, but it's not a visual line or visual fence. You know what I'm saying, especially in the now area. Saying that strip of fertility, people migrating all through there back and forth. And then too, like it's a misconception, like the Sahara, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you do have a lot of big sand dunes, but a lot of areas is rocks, you know what I'm saying, where it could be, you know what I'm saying, penetrated up to the north, certain areas.
Wouldn't the now bring people to it as well, like diverse, like, you know, wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it would bring people to it, like the indigenous
Yeah,
people, you know, in
yeah.
North Africa. I mean, just the geographic area, that area, it's obvious that it's an area of confluence. It's an area that where people merging and moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even the things that they like, even the things that they got from other places, uh, they recreated it and fused it there. You know what I'm saying, in their area. Like even some of the things that they did get from Asia, or some of the things they got from the South. You know what I'm saying? They made it their own way in the areas they was at. I can't wait, man. Do more. We're gonna do more shows, man. So yeah, this gonna be a good road, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you did do this show though.
Oh yeah. Next week, next week, uh, next week I'm gonna do more stuff on, you know, West African stuff. I'm gonna do Nubia too, of course. Give people more understanding of Nubia. That's what I really want to do, Nubia, because it's like it's a big. It's like we were saying earlier. You know, so we explained it earlier though. You know what I'm saying? How people think Nubia is just this one type of people. You know what I'm saying?
It is confusing if you don't know, then you know what I'm saying, it is confusing. But like you said, if somebody teach you or if it show you, then you get it like, oh, okay, you know. It is rather confusing if you're not privy to the information.
Yeah, because you got even like some Nubians or people that's classified as Nubians today are like the people that migrated from northern Egypt, you know what I'm saying, migrated to the south, you know what I'm saying, in the mix with some of the populations there. Even back then in earlier times, you had Egyptian mercenaries and just people like viceroys or whatever, you know what I'm saying, just stayed in Nubia and never returned to Egypt.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to tell, buddy. Trying to tell Chief X on the that one show where he came on there, and I was telling him, like, you think people don't move around? Even if you look at the Europeans, if you look at just England, and if you look at England and Ireland and all that, the people that's British right now, they weren't always British. They came from that whole area. It was the area where they all came together and conquered each other, and it's a long history to their history is even go back, you know, and you know what you know, Prince Charles or whatever he is now, his whole line got a whole history where you wouldn't even know that, you know, you wouldn't even know if you didn't know history. Germans came through that, like all that. So I mean, for you to think that didn't happen, you know.
Yeah, and you even still had like people wonder why like Ramesses the third had EV38. You know what I'm saying? Which is E1B1 they was common in West Africa, but its origins come from East Africa. You know what I'm saying? So of course you still had certain markers of lineages, you know what I'm saying, still lingering around, and like how the, you know what I'm saying, the Kadofian people, you know what I'm saying, speakers, you know what I'm saying, which is the proto language family, the Niger Congo language. Uh, they came from that Western Sudan area. Even to now, you still got some of them speakers that's in the the area that's called the Nuba Hills. You know what I'm saying? That live alongside the Nile Saharas and other groups that's there too. They just like they like the most eastern fringe of the cluster of, you know, the Niger Congo cluster.
Right. Way more complex than people try to make it out to be.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna do a piece on Al-Jahid too.
Oh yeah. I think that's needed too, because a lot of our people, you know, because Darwin, yeah, was a European, they kind of don't want to hear, you know, what he came with or what he, you know, what he was talking about. But if you know, they don't know about people theorizing and talking about evolution before him.
Yeah, he before his time. Like even he wrote some stuff about like race, social issues with white, and black, and, you know, the darker races, white or lighter races and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta do a show on him though.
Yeah. When is Ngozi coming back? He probably gonna come back. It's Saturday night.
Yeah, it is. And he out and about too.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap it up in a minute. Uh, gonna do this again. This the first show, so there's more to come. Uh, you know what I'm saying? This is that the book of Al-Jahid. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for listening. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like it, you know what I'm saying? Ring the bell, and will be appreciated if you you know what I'm saying, leave some in my Cash App, which is in the description. saying, peace out, one love.